What's going on, guys? Thanks for tuning in to Fitness Made Simple. Today, I'm going to talk about how to choose the best workout plan for you. So my goal by the end of this episode is actually to help reduce the complexity and misconceptions surrounding the gym to help you get started on your journey. So first things first, what is a workout plan? So a workout plan is essentially just a prescribed method of getting from point A to point B. This is important because it actually helps us provide some structure to what we're doing, right? The last thing you want to do is actually just, walk into a gym, sign up for a membership, and just kind of like aimlessly walk around from exercise to exercise and hope you're going to net some results, okay? People are creatures of habit and they crave actually structure into their lives. So a quote I like a lot is the fact that our thoughts become our words become our actions become our habits, and our habits define who we are. So the reason I like this a lot is because under pressure, we default to our habits, okay? When the life gets in the way, our responsibilities get in the way, school, work, family, whatever, right? We're going to default to our habits. And if our habits are established with good structure surrounding, in this case, working out, we know we're going to consistently execute whatever we set out to do because we have a habit of being structured in our approach to solving whatever we're trying to do.
All right, guys, this brings me to my next point, which is how do we even determine if a plan is good or not for us, okay? So me personally, I use 3 guiding principles to help determine that effectiveness and how it's going to work for me. First thing I'm going to think about is, does the plan fulfill on the promise it's making to us, okay? The second principle is, does it actually take the time to explain why this program is effective based on what it's trying to tell us what to do? And the third guiding principle is, does the plan contain logical progression with small increments?
I'm actually going to look up a plan right now with you guys. So if we just type in workout plan in Google and we hit search, the 4th or 5th link here, complete 4-week beginner's workout program, is by Muscle and Fitness.
So taking a look at this program real quick and spending a few minutes to glance over in the information provided, it spends a little bit of time in the beginning talking about, where you see yourself or when the last time you've been in the gym is. It takes the time to talk about what the 4 weeks are and what they're split up against. And then it goes into the what and then actually the when of you're doing the exercises with a couple videos. So let's apply the principles and see if this plan's effective for a beginner as it's prescribed. So right off the bat, you can see there's 3 goals, being strength, hypertrophy, and then fat loss, right at the top of the program. So when we think about that first principle, like, does it actually fulfill the promise? Well, after reading it, I find 2 big outliers and things that are not talked about that should definitely be talked about in a plan trying to accomplish those 3 goals. And those are sleep and nutrition and the importance of them and how they're interconnected to the level of activity you do and why it's important to make sure those are dialed in. I would even take it one step further and say that without sleep and nutrition, it doesn't matter if you do the best workout plan in the world, you will not achieve the results you're looking for. Just from the onset, this plan is not looking good because it's failing the first principle. And so the second principle is, does the plan take the time to explain why it's effective? So looking at what we see right here, it takes the time to explain how the weeks are broken up, but then it's changing the style of training for some unknown reason and doesn't explain. So what I'm talking about is week 1 is a full body split. Week 2 is a 2-day split between upper and lower. And then week 3 is a push-pull legs. And then for whatever reason, we're going back to a full body in week 4. So these are 3 different training styles or methods that you can apply to accomplish hitting all the muscles in your body. But why jump week to week, especially for a beginner that may not feel comfortable in the gym to begin with or even understand why these are different and how they can benefit? So looking at the third and final principle is, does it contain logical progression in its small increments? And as for the reasons I just mentioned about changing not only their frequency, but the style of training, it doesn't fit that mold either. Because not only that, the type of training you're doing on the first week to the second week to the third week, the exercises are changing and they're varying.
And I think just looking at this one more time, the week 1 is you work out 3 days a week. Week 2, you work out 4 days a week. Week 3, you work out 6 days in the week. So not only changing the training style from week to week, we're actually changing the frequency as well. So it sounds like we're already changing so many variables in such a short amount of time, especially for a beginner. We're just like throwing paint on the wall and seeing what sticks and trying to be like Picasso. Like, we're not setting ourselves up for success here, in my opinion. If it was me making the program, I would do small incremental jumps from week to week and then explain why we're doing those and what we're trying to achieve. Because that way we have progression that we could actually repeat this program consecutively in different training blocks. So overall, this is a very poor program, right? It doesn't fulfill on its promise and outline some of the key principles relating to strength, hypertrophy, and fat loss. The second thing, it doesn't explain how to implement the plan and why it'll work. It just talks about what the plan is, okay, and like how many sets and reps you should do, and kind of like some arbitrary numbers of poundage of like how you should lift and stuff like that. So it kind of gets more into the what, but it definitely doesn't tell you why it should work and how to implement it, besides what days you're doing it. That's a very small portion in this bigger picture. And then lastly, it doesn't contain any logical progression between week to week because it's jumping from different training styles. I'll tell you right now, you can get success and results from doing a full body training split week after week, as well as a upper and lower body split, as well as a push-pull leg split, as well as a bro split, right? These are just different training models. Okay, a lot of people think that, oh, push-pull leg is a more dominant or superior training style than upper lower or a full body. When it comes to complexity, I see a lot of beginner programs usually focus on full body splits or upper lower days just to keep it simpler for the person executing the plan, so they know when they go in the gym, like, all right, I'm just hitting things for my upper body. So transitioning to the last point, how do you choose a good workout plan? So first things first, without knowing your goals, that's where I would lead you first, right? What are your goals? Okay, we need to define those and outline them, okay? A good way to do that is to make sure they're specific, they're measurable, and then time bound. This is my approach to goal setting because it allows you to get specific with what you're trying to do. So for example, if you came to me and was like, hey, I want to do this, this, and this. I'm like, okay, well, what are your goals? You're like, hey, I want to lose weight. Okay, that's what you want to do. So that's kind of specific, but it's still broad. So I'll dive deeper. I was like, okay, how much weight do you want to lose? And then, for example, maybe you're like, I want to lose 20 pounds. Okay, now you're specific and you're definitely measurable because now you quantified what is your goal, right? So now we know if we lose 20 pounds, we've achieved success, okay? And the last thing I would ask you is like, when do you want to accomplish this by? And then if you're like, I want to do it in 6 months, I'm like, okay, now I have a goal that's specific, measurable, and time bound, which will allow me to ask more focused questions to follow up beyond that to give you better answers, to yield better results with the plan that we're going to set forth for you. The second thing that we would do once you've identified what your goals are is follow the 3 principles when you're searching out for those workout plans. So if you're not training with me, which is going to incorporate all these principles already, I would ask that you do that when you do your research online. Okay. So you want to make sure the plan fulfills on its promise that it's making to you, right? What is its goals? If you're trying to lose weight, you want to make sure that weight loss is actually part of the goal of the plan, okay, as it's outlined, okay? The next thing you want to do is make sure it explains the implementation as well as how it actually will work for you and why it will work, okay? And then lastly, we want to make sure there's logical progression from the plans. And the last thing and the most important is experiment to gain experience, and also make sure you prioritize having fun, okay? If you're not having fun, your proclivity to keep doing something is pretty low. But when you're experiencing things, make sure to journal and document the journey. And there's a few reasons we do that. One is to isolate training variables that we've implemented in the plan and to see actually what was working for us, right? When we can better isolate what actually created the result, we can now change that or apply that to future plans or stick with that plan and know like, hey, this is what actually created that change. The second thing is actually it will help you get some preferences, right? So if you've never been in the gym before and you don't know one machine from the other, if you document what you're doing, you can go back and be like, oh yeah, I really like that one. Let's keep that one. I don't know what it's called, but I'm going to memorize it in my head and then eventually learn the name and then, okay, yeah, let's keep that one whenever I do this type of training. When you start understanding what your preferences are, then you can start taking something from like this initial plan that you did to achieve your results and goals and then see another plan that you maybe like too, and then you just take some carryover from the previous plan because you know what the tangibles were that actually increased the created progress for you. You keep that and you keep the preferences of the good things you like and you translate that all to this new plan, and then maybe it has a different structure or training style, and now this plan is getting more and more catered to what you want to achieve your goals in the way you want to do it. So there's a lot to learn throughout the process of achieving your goals and finding a good workout plan, but we want to make sure it's outlined and founded in the goal we're trying to achieve, and we need to know what that is to actually get started. So hopefully this provided some value to you. I really enjoyed talking about this. If you need any more information or guidance, please, by all means, leave a comment below if you're watching on YouTube. Thanks again for listening, and I hope you guys have a blessed day.